Good afternoon and welcome to my channel, Watercolor Painting in the Afternoon. I'm Beth. Today I wanted to kind of recreate this very atmospheric beach scene that I painted while I was on vacation in Hilton Head this past couple of days. And I took some pictures of the beach and it was extremely still. It was almost like being on the Gulf of Mexico, where the waves are so low and gentle, and so it was a very glassy sea, and these dramatic clouds up above, a little bit of a sun glow, and then just a wet beach and the sea. And I wanted to kind of recreate this, and the reason I say kind of is because you will never ever paint the same picture twice. It just doesn't happen. So I wanted to make it landscape instead of, more horizontal than vertical, and just try to recapture some of the atmospheric element that I got in this picture. And this is 100% cotton paper, this little piece right here, and it's cold press. And I will say this, most of the time I tell you, it doesn't matter. Use the paper you have, and I'm still telling you that. Use the paper you have. But if you want a really beautiful atmospheric effect, you just can't beat that 100% cotton paper. Now this one is hot press, while this is cold press. So we'll see. We'll see what the difference is between these two, and if they're comparable, or if it compromises the atmospheric look. We'll find out. I hope you'll join me. Now, while I was at the beach, this was the watercolor set that I took. It's a new set I got for Christmas. My husband said, go to the art store and get something for yourself. So I did. It's the Gansai, I think is how you say it, watercolors. They're from Japan. They're very saturated. I don't know how light fast they are, so I can't tell you that, but I can tell you they're very saturated colors. They're fun to use, and that's what I'm going to use today. I may use this to mix it, because there's really nowhere to mix it in this set. But anyway, that's what I'm going to be using. Let me set my little swatch card aside there, and let's get started. My first thought is to do the sky. So let's try to remember which colors I used. I believe one of them was an ultramarine, which is right here in the kind of in the middle lower part. We're going to start with that. Or actually, that looks more like, was it ultramarine or was it indigo? I think it might have been indigo. That actually looks more indigo to me. Okay, so I'm just going to wet down my paper. For an atmospheric type of painting, you do want to do wet into wet or wet into damp, either one. You can, it depends on what you're going for. Right now, I'm just going for the background color. And here we go. I'm going to take, I think I'll take a little of this. Let's try for the indigo here. And see, yes, that's the right color. That's the right color. That's the color I had in the first place. And look at how that is spreading down that page. It's kind of cool, right? Okay, I want to leave some room for clouds. And I'm going to have to kind of, I don't want to take that away, but if I want clouds, I'm going to have to kind of do that. And we're just playing with this. Your sky can look any way you want it to look. Like I said, these colors from this company, Gansai or something like that, are very saturated. I'll leave a link to them in the description box. How about that? That's kind of pretty, isn't it? You can leave it like that. And that's very atmospheric, isn't it? So it is kind of working out. I'm going to take some of this ochre color here And we're just going to touch it along the bottom. I don't want to paint it in because painting it in will turn my sky kind of green. Now when we're up here in the white part, I can sort of. And then I want to take a bit of that out. So I cleaned off my brush, tap it on the towel, and just smooth that out a little bit. I mean, I really try not to get up into the blue because that won't do it all. All right, what we actually have to do here is let this dry. That didn't take long, did it? Let's let this dry and we'll come back and we'll finish the sea. I do want a nice sharp line between the sky and the sea. That much I do want. But everything else is going to be, I hope, really atmospheric and nice. On this one, I had the gray. So if you wanted to put gray underneath your clouds, you could do that. But I think I'm going to skip it on this one. I really like that effect. All right, I'll be back in just a minute. All right, now this is nice and dry. And the next part that I want to do is my ocean, which starts about right here and just takes up this little strip, and then you've got a lot of beach. And it's really hard to tell where the ocean stops and the beach starts. And that's on purpose because a lot of the beach that I was looking at was quite wet. So I want to recreate that kind of, you know, uncertainty, the lost and foundness of the water's edge. So let's get started, and we're just going to play with it because playing with it can get us some really interesting effects. And I think the first thing I'm going to do is use some of this ultramarine mixed in with my indigo, just a little bit, just to lighten it up a bit back here. And what I want to do, I kind of want to use a dry brush effect. So I'm going to take some of the water out of the brush. And we're just going to come across like that. Look at that. Look at that dry brush effect. Oh, I love that. That looks really good. We're going to make maybe just a little bit of a darker line right here along the horizon. Okay. And then another line, even more, with more of a dry brush effect, just right down below that. And you're saying, well, there's a line right here. But yeah, sure. That's okay. That's where maybe there's a wave or, you know, some little ripple in the water. It's fine to have that there. Now I'm going to make the rest of this kind of damp. And if you want to do wet into wet, then you want to make your paper really wet. If you want to do wet into damp, you just want to wet it down and then wait just a minute or two. Let that soak in a little bit. And then you'll be painting wet into damp instead of wet into wet. So let's keep going with this effect. Take a little bit more of the indigo here in the back, just so that it's kind of, you see what I'm doing? I'm just touching along the paper, and the paper is still kind of damp from having just put that paint down. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just touching it back here to give it a little bit more character, a little bit of a mottled effect. And doesn't that look like a wave? You know, you don't have to paint a wave in order to have a wave kind of happening on your page. And you know, and it'll be this nice atmospheric looking effect. One of the things that you'll notice about a wave is that, or about water on the sand, is that you'll often have a little shadow of the water, And you know, when the wave is coming up, like for example, if this is foam, this little bit of white here is foam, then you should come back in a minute or two and put a little line right there indicating a shadow, which I'm going to do right now. A shadow along the edge of that foam, right? Okay. Now the sand at the beach where I go is gray. So I'm going to get just a little bit of black out. Remember, this is very saturated color, so I'm putting a lot of water in with my black to make a light gray. And I'm just going to sweep it in. This is how I make an atmospheric look, just by sweeping in these colors. Not worrying that it's got to be perfect. In fact, the imperfection of it is what I'm after. Now up here, I used a little yellow ochre to get this glow. So let's get the glow on the sand going as well. Let's get that going here in some of these white areas that I left. And remember, quick strokes, so that it doesn't blend too much with the gray and become this dull, uninteresting color. I want that glow on the beach. Right in here especially, I want that glow. How about that? I think that looks really cool. Now I'm going to let that sit for just a minute, and I want to think about it. I want to think about what else I need. When I look at this, I see that here there's a little bit of the darker blue reflected back, and I think I want to do that. And it does look like I used the indigo, so I'm going to pull that indigo back out. Put it back in with my, ooh, that's black. Mistake. Glad I looked at that first. Okay, here we go. There's the indigo. And yeah, we're just gonna maybe make some little patchy blue places here and there. Just a couple where there's water. Remember, this is very atmospheric. It's very very fuzzy, very lost and found. That's what I'm trying to say. I get so caught up in what I'm doing that I lose track of what I'm trying to say. All right, let's pull that down that way. I may leave it about right there. That didn't take long, did it? And that's a lovely little atmospheric beach scene. I hope that this inspires you to take a moment and remember, this doesn't have to look exactly like what you're looking at. If it does, you've taken zero artistic license, and you might as well just take a photograph. I don't want to make it exactly what I'm looking at. I want to add interest where there isn't any. Take away where it's too busy. All these things are up to you to do. And you get to do whatever you want. It's your picture. If you want to put birds in this, if you want some seagulls standing on the beach, you can do that too. I'm a little bit nervous about doing that right now because I really like this picture and I want to leave it as it is. But you could put some sandpipers, you could put some seagulls, whatever you want to do. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a really quick thumbs up. Leave me a comment, subscribe, do all the things. And I'll see you next time. Happy painting!